Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Marianne O'Dowd. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County, and I'm also your service leader today. I extend a special welcome to those of you who may be with us for the first time, and those of you who may be with us for the first time in a while. And today we have the pleasure of music provided by Jody DeSalvo and Betty Lewis. And thank you, that was beautiful. It was a beautiful start. It is our custom at this time to invite people who are visiting to stand and introduce themselves so that we might extend a special welcome, only if you're comfortable doing so. And we'll start here at your right. Anybody visiting who wants to, please?
Good morning. My name is Tom Boylan, and I am most recently from St. Paul, Minnesota, but I turned 66 on June 30th, and I retired on June 30th. And I gave up my home on June 30th, and I sold 99% of my stuff on June 30th, before June 30th, and I'm currently staying in Sturgeon Bay with some friends, and I'll be here through the summer.
Welcome,
I'm
welcome.
not sure what'll happen after that, so.
You might stay. Many of us do. Anyone else? No?
Joan Howard, and I'm from Minocqua, belong to the Northwoods Unitarian in Woodruff.
Welcome.
I'm Pam Taylor, also from Minocqua, and visiting for the first time.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a guest and dear friend of the Gray Boys, and I'm up here looking at Northern Sky on Guys on Ice and Guys in Dose. So get tickets.
Welcome. Welcome. Well, please join us for coffee and conversation in the gathering room after today's service. And after about 15 minutes of fellowship, we'll meet back here for our talkback session with today's speaker, Ellen Kopishki. Ellen is a very visible member of our community, and not just because he's a member here at UUFDC, and he's been a member here for quite a while, but because he's a professional actor, and he's appeared on stages across Northeast Wisconsin, across the country, and on TV screens during prime time. Ellen is also an educator and an advocate for the arts, very passionate advocate for the arts. Earlier this year, he became assistant professor at UW Green Bay Theater and Dance, where he was previously an associate lecturer and where he has directed several of their productions. He's currently in production there for The Father. And that's you may have seen the movie with Anthony Hopkins. And it's a powerful and at times dark comedy about dementia through the mind of someone who has it. Ellen is also preparing to direct Shakespeare's Measure for Measure. And you'll hear from Ellen shortly, and you can read more about him in your order of service. So at this time, please check that your cell phones are turned off. And this is also the time when I ask you to take note of the announcements in the back of your order of service. And if you have anything else to share that might be of interest to the fellowship or its members, you're invited to share at this time. And the microphone, I don't know where the microphone is. It may still be in the drawer, but we'll get if you have any announcements to share, this is the time, and the microphone will find you.
Good morning, everybody. We're happy to be here this morning to provide the music. We've been here, I think, every year, this second Sunday in July for about 15 years. Betty and I are at Birch Creek in the summer, and this is the end of our session, so we're glad to be here this morning. I just wanted to let you know that some of you know Jonathan Bass, who's a pianist from Washington Island. He and I will be doing a recital here in October. We'll have more announcements before that, but hold the date, October 1st at 7 o'clock. It will be here, and it will be free with a free will offering. So I hope to see you all there. That'd be great.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Well, now we will begin our service. And at this time, I will light our chalice and share the opening words for today, adapted from Faith in Summer by Eileen Hamilton. Together, we light this small scrap of light, symbol of the sun's enormous power, whose energy burns so brightly in these days of deep summer. We bask in the warmth and heat of these days with lighted hearts and quickened senses in gratitude and in faith. please join in our unison affirmation and doxology. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. Please be seated. Now is the time in the service when you may briefly share any joys that fill your heart or concerns that might weigh heavily. And keep in mind, we do record the service and it is saved on the internet. So if you're sharing some information about someone else, please make sure you have their permission. Any joys or concerns? Right over here at the piano.
We appreciate that.
I know. Hi, I have a joy. So I've been coming up here forever for Birch Creek and Peninsula Music Festival, like almost 30 years, but I've actually been coming up even longer. That Gerhardt reminded me. I was in the first Door County Folk Festival dancing and playing the violin, and he brought me a picture today from 1980 in costume with dark hair, and it was such a thrill to see it. So if you want to see this little picture later, it's here. I love it. Thank you for bringing that.
Any more joys, trips down memory lane? Over there.
Hello, my name is Rita. I'm from Sheboygan. I'm here with my partner of 5 years, John. We went to the same Catholic grade school in Sheboygan, but I am older, ladies. So we didn't know each other, but we celebrated his 68th birthday yesterday up here. And I just want to say, I love you.
Oh.
And we love coming to the UUFDC. We have found our passion. We did not go to any church services before, actually for, independently of each other, but for the rest of our lives, we've never, but we feel so welcomed here, touched with such grace by all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, now at this time, let's take a moment of silence to clear our minds and get into a space for receiving today's message. Oh, sorry, I skipped something. We're going to do an offertory first to help support the good work of UUFDC. And so we'll be passing around the plate, and you can also make contributions online at our website. And now that moment of silence. The reading I share today is an adaptation by Robin Wall Kimmerer from the book Braiding Sweetgrass. It is titled A Map of Balance and Harmony. At the height of summer, when the days are long and bright, and the thunderers come to soak the ground, the lessons of reciprocity are written clearly in a three sisters' garden. Together their stems inscribe what looks to me like a blueprint for the world, a map of balance and harmony. The corn stands 8 feet tall, rippling green ribbons of leaf curl away from the stem in every direction to catch the sun. No leaf sits directly over the next, so that each can gather light without standing in the way of others. The bean twines around the corn stalk, weaving itself between the leaves of corn, never interfering with their work. In the spaces where corn leaves are not, buds appear on the vining bean and expand into outstretched leaves and clusters of fragrant flowers. The bean leaves droop and are held close to the stem of the corn. Spread around the feet of the corn and beans is a carpet of big, broad squash leaves that intercept the light that falls among the pillars of corn. Their layered spacing uses the light, a gift from the sun, efficiently with no waste. This organic symmetry of forms belongs together. The placement of every leaf, the harmony of shapes, each speaking their own message. Each plant, and these are my words, showing off main character energy, while gracing others with a stage to perform. Ellen?
Thank you, Mary Ann. And thank you, Jody and Betty. I am going to start here with a little bit from a podcast that Brene Brown did with a guy named Michael Bungay Stanier. Michael says there's a foundation question, which I think is the hardest question to answer anyway. And it is simply, what do you want? What do you want? Brene, that's such a tough question to be asked, because a lot of times what I'll say, if I called you and say, hey, Michael, I need some advice. And we get all the way to this question. And you say, Brene, what is it that you really want? What do you want? And I'm going to say, I don't know. Can you tell me what I should want? Can you tell me? Because so few people ask that question. Michael, yeah, I almost call it the goldfish question, because when you ask that question, people start making that little guppy thing with their mouth and their eyes pop open because they're like, you can feel their brain slightly exploding. Brene, it's true. Michael, because they're like, yeah, what do I want? I learned this question actually, Brene. I know your background is grounded in research and spending lots of time talking to people. I have a weirdly different but similar background. is that my first job was in the world of new product development and innovation. I played a tiny, tiny role in helping to invent stuffed crust pizza for Pizza Hut, which, by the way, which is when I knew I had to get out of that job because I did not want that to be the high point of my entire career. Brene, my kids would say thank you, and you've already peaked. Michael, already peaked. So I'm on the gradual downhill slide here. I'm leaning into that. But asking that question, what do you want, was always the thing that created silence and introspection and power in the room. And so to now, it's like a really opening question, because actually when people get clear on what they want, everything opens up. What do I want is really powerful. And that is the question we ask in acting classrooms a lot and in rehearsal rooms very often when a scene is going okay, but really what's at stake here? What's going on? We ask the actors, but what do you want? So, as many of you know, I have spent my life in the arts, mostly in theater, working in the arts, studying the arts, engaging in the arts as a patron. And now I spend a lot of my time teaching that which I have been most engaged in, which is acting. So I tend to see things through the lens of the tools that I use on a regular basis. And I've been thinking a lot lately about how we know what we really want. You know, we ask ourselves this as board members of nonprofit organizations. When we create our mission, our vision, we ask ourselves this in our acting work too. But how often do we ask ourselves, what do I want in this moment? What do I want out of this meeting, this lunch with a friend, this interaction with a stranger? What do I want? So early in the semester of my Acting 1 class, I take the students through some of the basic elements of the plays and scenes and characters that they're going to deal with in the class and in any theater work they're going to encounter. And these include given circumstances, character, objectives, tactics, and obstacles. So we're studying human behavior in order to inhabit and embody a curated but a recognizable version of human behavior. And these are some of our primary tools. Your given circumstances are the circumstances that your playwright has given you. Where and when have you been living? Who has been your family and community? What are the major formative events of your life until now? With whom are you in important relationships? And then we'll even drill down into some of the details of the immediate now in specific scenes, like what time is it and what is the temperature and other environmental factors. So from the big all the way down to the small details. We talk about character. We talk about who are you? What have you learned about how the world works? What do you value? What do you love or hate? What do you love or hate about yourself? How does that affect how you feel about other people whom you identify those characteristics in? What do you love to do? What do you intentionally dream of, and so forth? And when we have all of that groundwork of given circumstances and character sufficiently mapped out, we start to consider the objectives, tactics, and obstacles. What do we want? How do we try to get that? And what's in the way? So it's really helpful to have an understanding of these elements when you're ready to play your scene. Starting with the objective, imagine how differently a scene might play out if your character is passionately pursuing power, or if they're passionately pursuing love, or survival, or a laugh. Those scenes will play out very differently for those different objectives. And I always encourage actors to choose an objective that inspires them, that is really vital to who they are, who their character is, and what they want the rest of their life to look like. I challenge them to look at the intersection of what their character lacks and what they value. And if they choose something really pedestrian or ordinary, I repeatedly ask them why they want that in order to get at something deeper, something more primal, more inspiring. And there's usually one student in any class who gets excited about these ideas and asks if it would be beneficial to try it on themselves and see what it tells them about themselves. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about here, how you can apply some of these tools to yourself. So let's assume that you can describe the given circumstances of your life, but take the time to actually ask yourself what the really important circumstances are. What are the things that really ground you in who you are and the trajectory of your life? So go ahead and take a moment. Think about that. Okay, good. Then, okay, your character. What makes you you? All right, what makes you use you? Okay, all right. And really spend some time with that question. You know, what have you learned about the world? What are those things like, you know, power corrupts, or might makes right, or when you give, you get back more, or put your own mask on first, or all those little things that we take as our guiding principles and the things we tell our kids and all of that. All right, and then once you've done all of that, thought about your given circumstances and your character, now you're ready for the core of this work, the objective. What do you want? The key to playing any scene, and a big key in understanding yourself and your intentions in this life. Okay, so what is an objective and what makes a compelling one? Your objective is what you want, what drives you, your intention, your goal. And again, if you are familiar with nonprofit board work, it is very closely related to your mission and your vision. Have you ever thought about what your personal mission and personal vision might be? So let's just take a moment and think about what you want. What principles drive your behavior day to day? And think about it selfishly. If your instinct is to say, oh, my goal is to help other people, that's great. But think about it in terms of what it does for you. So if you're driven to pursue such an outward focused, selfless goal, why do you think you do that? Does it make you feel good? Does it make you feel valuable or essential? Does it validate something in you, something about how you see yourself? I do this exercise with the students because it really takes a while to drill down into something essential. I tell them we got to ask why at least 7 times before we really settle that we've gotten somewhere. So here's an example of me having a conversation with one of my students about what they think their character wants. They say, I want to be heard. Okay, why? Oh, because I want to be understood. Okay, why? Because I want people to value me. Sure. Why? Because I want people to listen to me. Okay, is there a difference between being heard, which is what you first said, and being listened to? Oh, okay. Well, maybe I just want attention. Okay, why? What does that do for you? Well, I guess I want to feel important. Why? What will happen if you feel important? Well, then I can just live my life without doubting myself. Okay, why would you want that? Well, that would feel really powerful. Oh, okay. Is that what you really want deep down? Power? Yeah, I think so. And now we've gotten to something that an actor can really play. Power is something they can really pursue in their scene. Being heard. Can you hear me? Great. That's easy. That's not a very interesting scene. Okay. So this is for the student's character. And now the student is going to start with the assumption that their objective in the scene or over the course of the whole play is power. And that's something they can really passionately and concretely pursue. And we'll keep working with it, and we'll test that over the course of rehearsals and see if that's really it and if that's really the most inspiring thing for their character. Another tool to look at this, at what your objective is to look at two things. What do you value and what do you lack? So make a list of some of the things that you value. Friendship, love, control, peace, freedom, whatever you think are the top values for you. Now think about things that you lack, those whose lack you feel most keenly. I don't know, maybe money, maybe autonomy, health, excitement, again, whatever comes to mind. And then look at those two lists and see if there's anything that repeats on those two lists, anything that you highly value and that you keenly lack. Our most powerful objectives, our needs, our wants often sit at the intersection of high value and keen lack. So once you've identified a big, important objective for yourself, you can see how that translates into a more immediate sense. So maybe your big objective, which we sometimes call a super objective, is comfort, a comfortable life. But right at this moment, maybe what you want is that certain blanket that you like, or a hug, or to know that that weird charge on your bill has been taken off. These are the little things that can add up to the big one. Okay, so what do we do with this? In acting, knowing our objective will help us decide what actions or tactics we will employ in a scene. Now, the difference between this in acting and doing this work for yourself is the actor's scene is already written, and you just apply those tactics to how you do that scene. The lines, the stage directions, all that already exists. Now, if you're doing this yourself, you write your part of the scene. So have you ever been in an argument or a conflict of some kind and realized that maybe you should have done something else? Maybe disengaged? How about this? You're in your car and somebody blows through a stop sign and you slam on your brakes and you hit your horn and suddenly the driver who blew through the stop sign is gesturing at you and weaving around and shouting out the window at you. Well, your adrenaline might urge you to shout and gesture back, or tailgate them, something to teach them a lesson that you won't let them get away with that, right? Well, let's look at this through the lens of objectives and tactics. Maybe if you are a modern day Inspector Javert from Les Mis and your objective is justice, maybe that's the right thing for you to do, is go after them and visit your justice upon them. But if your objective is actually peace or security or something, maybe being aware of that objective can help override your adrenaline and tell you that escalating will not get you what you want. It will not get you peace and security. Having that driver out of your life as soon as possible might be much better for what you want rather than chasing them. So maybe you choose to ignore the driver's rantings and gestures and just continue as if nothing disturbing had happened at all. Or you choose to interpret their gestures as friendly and you smile and wave back. And you continue to interpret everything they do as just neighborly. Or maybe you decide, hey, I haven't been in that gallery in a while. I'm going to pull over right now and stop in for a few minutes. And when I come out, they'll be long gone. So having that awareness can help you choose other tactics, other actions that might help you achieve your goals more effectively. So we often call these tactics in acting because we are strategically choosing actions to get us what we want. Now, the other thing I mentioned is obstacles. It's helpful to identify what the obstacle is to what we want, what is in the way, what is preventing us from getting what we want. So maybe that driver, or more precisely, the driver's behavior seems to be in the way of our peace and security. Depending on your other circumstances, simply avoiding the driver and their behaviors might make sense, or reframing, choosing to interpret actions either in generosity or as something that has nothing to do with you. Sometimes an obstacle is something to be overcome, but sometimes might be something to simply sidestep and avoid. Going around an obstacle can be just as effective as going through it or over it. So this is just a taste of the work. If it's something you'd really like to do, allow me to make a suggestion. Do it with someone. Talking about these things, saying it out loud allows you to articulate it in a clarifying way. I have tried to do this myself just on my own, and I find myself getting lost in all of the shades of gray and contradictions and inconsistencies I see in myself. Actually engaging with somebody else can help you get past some of that. Activate your bullshit detector. Keep you focused. Should we put a PG-13 warning on the podcast? I don't know. Okay. But it keeps you focused and can clarify your instincts into insights. So we made reference to main character energy here, and thank you, Sarah, for suggesting that be part of this. I want to talk a little bit about main character energy. Who has heard of this term, main character energy? Anybody? Oh, no. It is out there in the zeitgeist. It entered, I think, in 2020, inspired by a TikTok. Okay, who knows what a TikTok is? Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Good. So people have been talking about this idea for a few years. Do you have main character energy, or do you have supporting character energy? The idea of this is to see yourself as the main character in the movie of your life, defining your challenges in terms of yourself and what you want and need, rather than in terms of what your family or your boss or your friends need and want from you. And it really means, taking care of yourself, taking responsibility for your own needs and wants, not waiting for some other main character to be driving this story. So the danger of this is when you start thinking that you're the main character in other people's life movies. That's this thing we know as narcissism. So we want to avoid that. But this does connect to what we've been talking about here. If you see your life as a movie, make yourself the main character. Examine the given circumstances and your character as if you were to play that main character, or maybe direct them. And you can have, Meryl Streep or George Clooney in your role, or whoever is your ideal avatar for yourself. But examine your deepest wants and needs, your objective, and take responsibility for and strategically plan how to get them through your tactics, your actions, keeping in mind what the major obstacles are and finding ways over, through, and around them that minimize the distraction from your goals. So has anybody here been taking notes? Anybody have maybe an objective or super objective that they want to share with us? Anybody? No? Okay. All right. Your assignment for next week. No, I won't do that to you. But just reminded me of the quote that we often use here. And I'm not going to have it exactly, but it's what are you going to do with this one wild and precious life of yours? So it really connects to one of those things we like to remind ourselves about here as you use. Did I get that quote right? Does anybody know it exactly? Okay, good. All right, well, there you go. What do you want?
Please join in singing hymn 346, Come Sing a Song. Yes. Well, thank you, Ellen, and thank you, Jody and Betty, for today's wonderful music. As we conclude today's service and head into fellowship time, please keep these words from Ian Huntington Bear with you. You are in the story of the world. You are the world coming to know itself. May you trust that all you will ever say or do belongs in the story of the world.
I just want to let you know the pianist choice today for Post Luke, because I didn't make the press time in time for the title, is Stars and Stripes Forever by Susan. By Susan. I should know who wrote it. And this is an arrangement by Vladimir Horowitz, the famous pianist. Oh, gosh. I hope you enjoy it. A lot of notes in it.